All right. So I spent most of this running time trying to figure out whether this is a good bad movie or a bad good movie, and I'm
It's a
still not
Michael
entirely
Crichton
sure.
movie.
Well, so I I'll you guys could dunk on me in a second, but I'm a Crichton fan.
So am I.
I've got most of his first editions up until Disclosure down there,
Wow.
some of which I paid a lot of money for.
Wow.
And
Ranking of Crichtons.
the books or the movies?
Andromeda Strain.
We'll do this later.
Okay, we'll do this later.
Yeah.
So like I don't think I saw this movie since it came out.
Probably since the HBO days, right?
I don't know. I think I actually might have seen this in the theater.
I saw it in the theater
I'm
too,
a
but I
little-
remember.
I'm a little baffled as to why this movie hasn't gotten like a 1080p treatment. Like it literally just seems to be completely forgotten.
Yeah.
For
can't be a good idea.
everything that kind of made me nuts about it while I was watching it, there was something where I was like, God, that's fucking interesting. I think I put this in the chat. If I didn't know any better, I would have thought this was early Cronenberg. And now that I've seen it and know when it came out, it makes me kind of reassess the first 5 years of Cronenberg's career, because
Oh wow.
this is like early, like maybe like first to the party body horror
Yeah.
in a lot of ways. And yes, the fucking scene in the operating room is at least 15 or 20 minutes too long. And this is like where I know where Crichton, like I guess he was a surgeon or a doctor or something. So it's like him like really piling it on.
He never actually performed as a doctor, but he did complete medical
Yeah.
school.
So that there's at least 15 or 20 extra minutes in the operating room that didn't need to be there. But then there's things that I'm
It's a
still
1
thinking
hour
about.
movie.
Yeah.
I'm still thinking about since we watched them, and it's mostly about the choices that Hodges made. Did you guys notice that the camera always seems to be kind of hiding behind something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you? Scott pointed this out, but the color palette for its time, I think,
Severely
was
limited.
pretty interesting, and I'm not going to say revolutionary, but like ground, like wow, I don't know that a lot of people were doing that in 1974.
Ahead of its time.
I
Yeah.
think that Siegel's performance is really like he's a good actor, and he makes choices in this where like, are you fucking smirking right now? I can't really tell. But by the end, like you do end up feeling sorry for this guy, and I guess when like at the end of the day, like I've been thinking about it a lot.
Wow.
Since I watched it, and I think it's a overlooked. I don't know if I'm gonna call it a masterpiece or even a minor masterpiece. I think it's a good movie despite all of its many flaws, and I'm gonna give it a big thumbs up.
Wow. This movie sucks. It sucks top to bottom. Holy shit. Like I was super excited. I was like, "Oh, this is a Crichton movie. This is the thing that he wrote right after Andromeda Strain."
Yep.
The book was far better received
Book
than
is good.
Andromeda Strain was. The movie was pretty well regarded at the time. Like this made George Siegel a different kind of actor than he had
Stanley
been.
Kubrick loves this movie.
Yes, all of this stuff. Like I was super stoked to go into this, and I was just sitting there the entire time going, when is anything going to happen? When is a movie going to occur? Because we have 45 minutes of a lecture, and then we have 20 minutes of that
Surgery.
darn cat, and then somebody gets stabbed, and then he gets shot in a grave, and that's the whole fucking movie. But
I think that I disagree with taking 20 minutes out of that scene, and I disagree with you. I think this movie is brilliant. I had never seen this before. I fucking loved this movie, and I haven't been able to stop thinking about it either. And I think that I remember when the medical shit was going on for so long, I actually looked at the timestamp where I was in the movie, and we were like more than halfway through the movie. It's still going on. And I was like, but I said to myself, I love this. Like they are making a commitment to make this. This is the picture. Like if you're waiting for something else, maybe it's going to come. I don't know because I've never seen it.
You're
I don't know what's
missing
going to
it.
happen.
You're missing it if you're just sitting through that waiting for something to happen.
This
Right,
contraption,
I started
moves
hanging
about
on-
as fast as the plot in this movie.
But I started hanging on just every single thing in that procedure.
What's
like
the
that-
year? What is this? 71?
74.
74. I felt, I can see why Kubrick liked it because I felt some 2001 vibes, and Sheila brought that up as well when we were watching it during the surgery scene, that it is as methodical and step by step as like removing the faulty unit that Hal sent them out to fix on the radio.
Yes.
At least 2001 is beautiful.
Well, there's a bit of that deliberate
I
style.
think
of
this
the
movie's
60s or the
pretty
70s.
good looking movie.
Yeah,
I do too. I agree with you.
No, where?
The color palette of this movie
The
is
shots.
phenomenal. It's
It is.
shit.
The
And
framing,
It's
the
all
color
white
palette.
and tan.
Uh-huh.
It's all
gray.
white and tan and
So
beige,
much
Bright
gray.
and that's
It's
it.
black, white, and gray.
Yeah,
but
and
it's beautiful. It's
Yeah, the
beautiful.
movie- I
When
think
you get
it's
to the
fine.
last like 15 minutes. And
Yeah, then there's
suddenly it's,
blood.
like, green.
Then there's blood
flower
and
colors.
grass. Finally,
well, yeah, well, the
Right.
blood stands out because there's no color in the film, so that's one thing.
and the
because
grass
of,
stands out because there's no color in the
Color in
film.
the film.
However,
That's
the book,
it-
book ends with the other doctor coming in and killing him in her house, and I think that's a way better ending than a fucking SWAT sniper shooting him from a helicopter when he's fallen in a grave. Like,
Oh no, I disagree, man. This
I
something
disagree too.
that was
Again,
utterly
I like
it was so weirdly prescient watching the police activity at the end of this film. It was it felt very modern.
and that shot behind
Tad,
Chris.
Chris,
No, the shot behind Chris. Well, the shot behind Tad is one of my favorites too. I love that
Yeah.
composition.
Yeah, I
that's
like
the
that.
best shot in the film.
uh-huh.
But
Best
the
shot in
shot
the film.
behind Chris, the shot behind Chris is a bit of a sequence, yes. So
Yeah.
when you're seeing that viewpoint, I love that weird, he's entombed literally
Yeah,
already,
right.
right? And he can't get out. He's he's
think on
also
purpose.
toying with like
He's
I didn't know if he was
literally a
gonna
dead
shoot
man.
himself. Yeah, I didn't know if he was going to commit suicide. We didn't know.
I think he went in there on purpose.
Yeah, I think
Because
so too.
One thing about the film is that this character, George Siegel's character, is a genius. He's got like 170 IQ, and
Right.
that's one of the reasons that character smirks so much, because he knows he's smarter than everybody in the room. So while he's healthy, he kind of like plays with everybody. He gets evasive, weird little answers. That's genius stuff, that you've seen people who are super smart do this.
Also,
And when at the end he starts malfunctioning, it's like you can see that his intellect is working against his brain in a lot of
Right.
ways. It's brilliant. His performance is just off the charts great.
That scene in the middle where they first start zapping him every
Oh, it's
couple
great.
I was just going to say, how fantastic was that scene?
That was
Oh my
Scene
God.
that
is
was
great.
It was self-indulgent, but also kind of cool.
No, but by the end, when they're all laughing with him, that was
Yeah.
fucking
Yeah.
brilliant.
And I
George-
thought that was a
George
really
Siegel-
great. I thought
George
that was a
Siegel-
great cut to all the guys in the hallway laughing who were completely unrelated. They're just telling a dirty story or something.
Oh yeah, isn't that
Yeah,
fun?
that was
And I
great.
just felt like there's this weird juxtaposition of sort of like these animalistic emotional impulses that are driving the humans in this movie,
Mhm.
whereas we're in this very sterile, computerized kind of world. That leads me to a question, which is there's a lot of visual cues in this movie that indicate that it's slightly in the future.
Oh,
Is
yeah.
it ever stated that
It is.
this is supposed to be?
They
the
never
future?
I
say,
never
but it's
heard
supposed
it.
to be. It's supposed to
In
be
the-
like 20 years ahead.
No, in the book specifically, I don't know necessarily about the movie, but in the book specifically, it takes place over a named set of days in 1971. Like this
Really?
is
When
not
was it? When was it
supposed to
written?
be.
When was it written?
I think he
I
wrote
have to
this when
go
he was
look.
in med school, so in the late 60s.
Okay, so it's just a couple
Also-
years in the future.
A
But
jig.
I
Yeah.
didn't understand. I mean, one thing that wasn't super clear to me though was the surgery, the special experimental surgery was to stop these fits that he was having.
Yeah,
Yes.
right.
Yet what it did was speed them up.
Yeah.
Yeah, the
Because
brain
you
got
suppress
addicted
it.
to the impulses.
Brain got addicted to the zappings.
Yeah,
Yeah. So you
Don't-
suppress it. And then
Don't
the
sit
brain
around
keeps-
trying to figure out any of Crichton's science. Crichton's science lives in a different universe.
you know what?
The Crichton verse where you can just splice frog DNA into dinosaurs and have dinosaurs. Like this is not the world.
and so you're saying it's pseudoscience.
Well, if someone knows what that is behind Chris, by the way, which I love those eyeball and
Yeah.
they're talking
Uh,
and they did one at the end. I don't know if I quite understood who they're talking to and who that is.
Well, it's two guards. It's two guards standing outside of a rubber room. I think it's supposed to be where he was before.
Yeah, they're looking in on him basically.
Yeah,
they're looking in on him before the treatment. But then at the end, they have one too, and so it's like a new.
But it's a different person.
Yeah, it's a different person.
Yeah.
But see, I love this filmmaking. This director, I think this director did a tremendous job.
Quite a filmography, this guy.
Yeah.
Because
this is setting up for a sequel, is what that is at the end. By the way,
maybe.
Well, it's so good though because they don't tell you why.
What are some other?
They don't tell you anything about it.
No.
Also,
that's something they did in the 70s more than they did at any point before or after, is where they would give these little non-connected, but you can kind of make the connection yourself scenes that you didn't really get before or after, and a lot of times they would bookend films with them too. Like I
love that.
You get that.
Well, there's enough level of ambiguity, but yet it's still in the context.
Right, because we've moved past at this point. We've moved past the studio system, so you don't have as much top down.
They're not pushing for a happy ending.
So you're allowed to have more auteur directors. You're allowed to do weirder stuff. They're now taking in from European cinema in a lot of ways too. Like this is a good historical artifact, if nothing else, because I think it does show.
Well, I was interested to. Sorry, Tad, go ahead.
I think it does show an evolution in American filmmaking. Like this is a step on a ladder.
And it also, some of my favorite American cinemas from the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And I think and I thank Scott for. I had never even heard of this. I had never even seen. I didn't know anything. And now this is going to be like an example in my canon of why the 70s is so wonderful.
No, this film has been wrapped around my R complex for decades in terms of like seeing it as a kid, and I knew it was there, and it kind of affected the way I kind of saw films.
And he just passed, and he was pretty fucking awesing.
Yeah, exactly. We talk about George Segal for a second. This guy, he could open films. He was a big star. He was I think
this is the same year as California.
He was a heavy hitter, but I don't think he actually. People know how incredibly brilliant he was because he was kind of a charming guy.
He was a comedy actor. It was completely out of left field to cast him in this movie.
The thing is, they kept doing that because it's like they would devalue him. He wasn't like Redford or Newman because he did comedy, but he was better than any of these guys.
But he also didn't have
fantastic in Who's Afraid of Virginia.
This is apropos.
Yes, he was, Jim.
Apropos of nothing. Well, me and Eileen,
Flirting with Disaster.
Eileen and I have been kind of pushing through the Mad Men series, like just kind of rewatching them all.
Where's Papa?
There's a bit in this film where he is kind of doing the interview with all the people in the auditorium, and we're watching it, and I'm going, "Holy crap! That John Hamm is doing George Segal."
Yep.
Yeah. It's like he's not doing Redford and Newman like that. He's actually, because George Segal is approachable and likable, and John Hamm is just imitating him in Mad Men.
I couldn't help but think about.
That's a very interesting.
Do a side by side sometime. It's pretty spooky.
Scott, that's a good comparison because I think in both cases they're like charming, but there's something unknowable.
Yes,
about John Hamm and George Segal.
Yeah, but the difference is that George Segal's a genius and John Hamm's a drunk. Like that's the difference between those two characters.
But even when George Segal does comedy, like when he was in Just Shoot Me, he was a regular character in that.
Yes, he was. He was very good.
He was quite good in Who Just Shoot Me.
He was.
I was going to bring that up because I couldn't. I kept thinking this is the guy that did Just Shoot Me, and part of me, I was so fond of this film, I was like, Just Shoot Me is beneath him. Like,
interesting.
Get your money.
But he did bring that kind of blankness or something to the character. There was something about him. I didn't know if it was that he was.
It was stunning, Doug.
Fun with Dick and Jane from 1977.
Fun with Dick and Jane was one of my favorite films of all time. It's actually
watch California Suite with Elliot Gould, I think same year as this.
Yeah, you're gonna have any film that has that was
Robert Altman.
Ed McMahon as the bad guy is a great film.
I want to hear Ed McMahon's Hollywood's greatest villain.
Yeah, exactly.
Any
I'm
show
talking
that
about Ed
fired-
McMahon, not a character he plays. Actual Ed
No,
McMahon.
it's him. It's really him.
Let's
I
just
can
talk
tell.
for a second about the character actress in Terminal Man.
Oh
It
my
is a
God.
parade
Dude,
of 70s who's.
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and
Not
80s
a- you know,
too.
Richard Dysart and
Or
the
Donald
two guys
Moffat.
from The Thing, notwithstanding.
I know. I was stunned by that. I was like,
Bill
oh,
Clayburgh.
yes.
Yeah.
I'm so
it's
mad
gotta be her
about.
first
I'm
flick.
so mad about Donald Moffat's Wikipedia page. I'm so fucking mad about
Oh,
that.
yes.
But yeah,
Like-
you got Richard Dysart and Donald Moffat from The Thing. You got like all the side characters of this are like, oh that guy, oh that guy, oh that guy.
Yeah, even
Totally.
the guy, even the guy telling the dirty joke in the hall. That's a character.
Yeah, I know,
we
but,
all know.
Also, Clayburgh as a ingenue. That's
Yeah.
must have starting out. She was great. It was
that's a
really
few
fun.
years
Jim, you
Yeah,
said that was her
Ordinary
first
Woman
film,
and,
Jim?
No,
I was thinking it's her first major part.
Right, right. What did you think of the film, Jim? You haven't said much about it. What have you seen it before? Or
I got it confused with Brainstorms or whatever the other
Oh,
one was.
with Christopher
yeah.
Walken,
was that's
Douglas
the
Trumbull.
Douglas Trumbull, 1981.
Yeah.
20 millimeter.
So I liked
No scan.
this, but I really enjoyed early Crichton, his books, and I really liked. I remember, I think Andromeda Strain was the first flick I saw in the movies.
Andromeda Strain is so good, and I wanted to watch it the entire time I was watching this. Like
No,
all I kept thinking
got that
is
close.
how much I want to watch Andromeda Strain instead of it.
No, I got this.
This has some of that in it for sure, but
I
it's
wanted
like,
to pair this with Terminal Man, but I just had to do Alfie too. So.
Andromeda Strain's fucking great.
But yeah, but I've seen it so many times.
So
right?
good.
See, I've heard of Andromeda Strain. I've
Oh
never
yes,
seen
Jim.
it.
Finish your thought.
Yeah,
Oh.
finish, Jim, please.
So yeah, I liked the fact that it sort of ended before where an American movie, where a normal Hollywood movie would have started. You would have gotten rid of the whole operation thing.
Or it would have been 5 minutes.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was
this movie basically, if you cut off the last couple of minutes of it, it then flows directly into Army of the Dead. Army of the
Yeah.
Dead starts
Yeah,
5
pretty
minutes
much.
after the end of that.
I really like the fact that the priest was a minor character in a original Star Trek.
Oh yeah,
Ian Wolfe.
Ian
He
Wolf.
was.
Yeah,
He was.
and the guy who was the guy who objected to the surgery in the big, he stood up and yelled at the end.
Oh yeah.
He had a part in the movie 1776. He played.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's like really fun. But there's
But
some
yeah,
characters.
I thought it was an interesting movie, and it really was a sort of product of the 70s.
Well, this
Yeah.
is back when they made films and didn't have to think about entertaining teenagers.
It's
Yeah.
brilliant as shit, man.
I know if it was made, film was made.
Amen. to
The
Scott.
surgery would have been 5 minutes long, and he would have been like, if I murdered like 45 people before they got him.
I hold on. I just want to point out what's behind Scott right now with him beating the fuck out of the robot.
That was weird.
That was silly.
was
I was
That was
dying laughing watching that.
That
And
was-
I
that was-
do not think I was supposed to be.
No.
But
I was
it's
laughing too,
weird
Dad.
googly eyes facing at the fucking hitting it.
What the
God, man,
fuck?
getting all fucked up by him.
that was the dumbest part of the movie.
No,
I also
at
rolled my
least.
eyes.
No, it was actually a little bit too on the nose.
It was so fucking
No, it was
funny.
dumb as
But
shit.
again, I don't think it was supposed to be funny.
That's,
And
an
I
easy- that's an easy fix though for the filmmakers or the editors if they're still around. All you do is just come right in when he's breaking down and crying in the middle of that
Mhm.
that scene, and then
The
it's
whole
serious
thing.
again, and it's
And
lovely.
then, of course, he throws the crowbar at the mirror because you have to, because that's how Hollywood works. You
But mind
must
you-
throw the crowbar at
Also,
the
the thing is, at this point, his breakdown, it was getting, he's permanently in that homicidal state. It was also heartbreaking to watch because he was out of control.
I was starting to feel real bad for him at that point.
Yeah, exactly. He's a
I
he's
didn't
stuck.
feel bad for him. I thought he was manipulating the system. He wanted to get this opera. It's just
Yeah.
like Alex
Careful what you wish
in
for.
Clockwork
Oh,
Orange. It's
right,
like, I'm gonna
right.
play
Yeah, it
this
is
and
actually.
that.
Yeah, there's some definite parallels between.
Because
The,
There's
Obviously-
there's a double feature.
yeah, there
Yeah.
you go.
Obviously, Jill Clayburgh
Uh.
gets him out, right? She's like, she
Well, you're
goes
back
in
to
and talks
Kubrick
to the
there.
doctor. It's like, can you give him this
That
bag
great
of stuff?
scene where she picks him up outside that tunnel.
And then she
Yeah.
picks him up outside the tunnel. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that the
Yeah,
tunnel
that's-
from Blade Runner?
I think
I
it
was
is.
wondering the same
Yeah,
thing.
well, that's the one they use. That's downtown LA. They use it for
Yeah.
even now. But also that I remember reading a review of this back when I was a kid, and it's like that they almost overdo it because she's doing her nails black,
Yes.
the birds going back and
Yeah,
forth.
it
Them
was-
is on TV, and you see his eyes doing the thing. It's beautifully constructed, but it's almost over the top.
There's
I like the fact
there's a-
that she
Not
dies on
compared
top
to,
of the
again, not
waterbed.
compared
Yeah.
to Hollywood today, though. It's not.
That's the thing they would never put in the remake because nobody would know what the fuck a waterbed was.
Wait, why is there water
the
coming out of that
waterbed.
bed?
Yes, I forgot about the water
Why is
bed.
there water coming out of that man?
Yeah.
That was like
It is very funny when all the cops are there and they're all crouched down and there's just like a thin layer of water on the floor.
but
He's
actually,
so
that-
blind. He
that-
just kept
that,
going.
But
Hey,
that,
you
that
know
gave
what,
us one
guys?
of the best.
There's something else from Blade Runner in that movie, and that is those bricks on the walls in
Oh, no.
that party scene.
They filmed some of this in the Aztec house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Uh-huh.
No, but real quick, go back to the waterbed though. That particular episode that he had in The Killing gave us one of the most beautiful visual sequences in the whole movie,
Oh yeah.
and that was how much time they spent following the blood going around the floor.
Tiles.
I know.
with
Wasn't
all
that
the,
something?
like, it was so gorgeously shot and framed and paced and edited. That was like stuff of today. That was like stuff better. That was like Hitchcock level goodness. That was like
I
It
just
kept-
wish I cared about anything that got us to that point. Like that's my
guess.
whole thing with this movie is it just could not bring me to the point that I cared about any of it.
Yeah, yeah.
Like it
I don't think you have to care.
It's
just
very
good.
cold.
no, I have to care. Whatever you can have whatever opinions you want
It's
about
very
anything.
cold and it's
but
very
I
nerd,
have
like
to
most
care
of the Cronenberg
about-
movies that I love.
But
No,
no,
it's
I like some
Yeah,
of
like
these
I think you could
Cronenberg
argue there's a
movies
lot
too.
of cool movies that you don't necessarily care about the character.
No,
No, I don't
no, they're
care
all
about
horrible.
what's
care about
happening.
Alfie.
I don't care about what's happening.
No, the
That's
doctors.
the
The,
problem.
doctors are horrible.
That's different.
The doctors actually, after they get that, they're wearing their tuxedos and the entire thing, showing what a-holes they are. Right? You don't care about the main character, George Siegel, because it's like he's smirking and
He's not even a real person.
They have to. Why?
I think I care about
the film.
I think when I started to care about George Siegel was when they were doing the test sequence, watching him go through
Yeah.
the motion.
Yeah. You
Yeah.
felt sorry for him.
I like his sympathetic laughter when he started laughing, and everybody in the room started
anyone-
laughing too.
Yeah, me too.
He's suddenly put in a place where he has no control.
Yeah.
Right.
That's sympathetic
Yeah,
immediately.
yeah.
But he stops being a character. He just becomes an animal. Like
Again, this is weird. I think you kind of backed into the premise of the film again.
he's the bear.
But also I didn't think he was so smarmy in the beginning. I think he was just straightforward. He was like, he answered questions very subtly. He was like, yes, yep,
yeah,
yep.
and then he has
I
the
thought it was a
then he has the
manipulator.
surgery and he becomes the bear from the Revenant. Like I don't want to watch the rest of the movie about what happens to the bear in the Revenant. Like I don't care.
This movie deserves better than the old crappy DVD transfer with the cigarette burns that we've got.
Absolutely.
Also, I love the cigarette burns, but yes, this should be on HD. This is a fantastic
No,
film.
if,
Come on.
if this had a better transfer and it looked like there's like some Criterion restored, it would be like I
Yeah,
think
I don't know
I think that would
why-
even win Tad over. I think that
I'll
would
bet
no
this is.
one-
I'll
no
bet
one
this is
likes it.
stuck. I'll bet this is stuck in some sort of studio
same here. This is some
like
sort of
legal,
limbo.
legal limbo. Like
Warner
this is this.
Brothers, something
This
or
is
other.
absolutely a Criterion selection.
Turns out
Yeah.
they don't have
Yeah.
the rights to one of the songs in it
Something
or something
stupid like
like
that,
that,
yeah.
kind of
Their
shit.
songs.
So someone has to write some checks to get this all squared away so they can put this out in HD.
Did
Right, and
anybody
then they have to
notice
give
the-
it to those people. They have to give it to those people in Sweden who take 3 years to do the restoration.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
I don't think Siegel ever did another movie anything like this.
Yeah.
It's
I'm
like
gonna-
that I
I'm gonna-
can remember.
No, after this, I think it was Roller Coaster.
Oh God, no, that's movie. I saw that in theater. That is not.
That's
that is
in
no
Sense
bueno.
Around.
Round. Thank you.
That movie is no
Did
bueno.
anybody notice the abundance of badly tied giant bow ties in this movie?
Yes.
Oh, there
It
was,
was
yeah.
the 70s, dude.
It was clown. It would look very clown-like.
also
one of them was-
Richard Dysart had
Kind of
a
like-
couple.
I actually liked though that they were in their tuxedos for so long because remember it's all happening in one night. So
right. Yeah.
they literally came from that celebration ball and they're
Right
all
back to the
still-
hospital.
Yeah, right back to the
It-
hospital. They're all smoking.
She's in her
cigarettes.
gown.
Uh,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
great. Yeah.
Also,
That
one thing,
whole
if-
scene- that whole scene where they're in the cafeteria or whatever reminded me, or at the party, reminded me of Kubrick's last movie.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Eyes Wide Shut.
Yeah, Eyes Wide Shut, because there's those scenes with like Cruise and Pollock
Oh yeah.
in
Uh,
tuxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
Also,
now
you
that you bring it up, though, Jim, and Tad even pointed this out. I mean, that scene where he punches through the door.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, yeah.
It predates The Shining by 5 years.
At least I know, and it's
That
great.
scene was
too.
awesome.
I love the
There
fact
was-
that he doesn't get.
How about
he can't reach
how about George Siegel taking the knife right after that? Wasn't that
Yeah.
interesting?
Yeah.
It was like
Yeah,
he took
see, I
it
think
kinda like
I think that
Yeah,
you know,
that scene, Tad.
some of these little parts suffer from it being 1974,
uh-huh.
but you can see the director's decisions and they're brilliant and they're there.
Right.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
him just walking into that knife,
Mm-hmm.
we've seen that now in
Other
pictures
movies.
I know.
for the
This
last
film-
decade. This is probably the first one that did that,
Yeah.
and it's so genius.
Yeah.
That's what I was thinking when we were saying maybe the thing was overwrought when the scene with Jill Clayburgh got killed and they cut to the parrot. But I was like, I'll bet that was one of the first times you saw something
Yes.
like that.
It was a first time for that, and then everything else kind of followed
It was
afterwards.
very
No,
effective.
no, there's the
Very
cockatoo
influential.
scene in Citizen Kane.
Oh,
But yeah, I think
Yeah.
going back to the shot behind Tad that we just talked about, someone else just said it though, but the fact that he couldn't get to the door, he's hurting from the stab.
Yeah.
He can't quite. I love that. It read just very real.
Terrible wig.
I love that he doesn't pull it off.
Also,
it was a good way to get him out of the
It
house.
shows you like she's being chased down by a robot. It's like,
Although, how did he get that pistol though?
Yeah, that pistol comes out of nowhere.
It
No,
comes
that
out of
was,
actually no.
No. Hold on.
also
Or
one
is it
thing
in
about
her purse.
you
Yeah,
recall
so-
the thing is I would say if you know what brutalist architecture is.
Yeah.
There's so much of it in this movie.
That's the thing. If you want to know why people like brutalist architecture, refer this film to them. Because it's
Yeah.
like it's cast concrete and cold, and it's kind of
Well, that's
beautiful.
another
It's
What else
like-
came out this year? Same
Clockwork
shit.
Orange.
Rollerball.
Yeah.
Full of
Right.
it.
Yeah.
Or
Rollerball
any,
was the one of them.
He-
The other one.
he
This
literally
this
pulls-
reminded me a lot of Rollerball in terms of its look.
He
any
literally pulls
photos,
that
any
pistol
photos
out
of
his
University
butthole.
of Massachusetts Amherst. That's you want some fucking brutalist architecture. That shit is-
Okay.
So
God, how
one
fucking
good-
good was 1975 for movies, man?
Yeah. No shit.
So one thing that really rooted this movie in the late 60s or the early 70s was the fact that you still had nurses wearing the hats
Yeah.
that
They
they
borrowed,
got for the
I think
schools.
they borrowed those hats from the movie The Devils, right?
Not just
Yeah, yeah.
nurses. I'm pretty sure
Nurses
some of
used
those
to
are
have
medical.
hats
I'm,
and
pre-
you could
I'm,
tell what school they went
I'm
to.
pretty sure some of those are medical students. Like
Yeah.
I don't think
Yeah.
they're just nurses. Like
Oh no.
Does
'Cause I
anybody
don't
know
think
why they
University
had to wear
Medical Center, I
space
think
helmets
that's what
in the
happened.
operating room? Some of the
That
I
was
like
the-
the space helmets because
was-
obviously
I
Also
almost
something I
just
don't know
wrote
that I've
the
ever seen before.
1970s across that and posted it on Twitter. Like that was like this
that's
is
why I
the
thought it
most
was the
70s
future.
shit I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was weird.
I love that. Some of them had masks, and I was like, "Oh yeah, pandemic style. Let's go."
I know.
Yeah.
Chris,
and then
you
some of
had-
them were going to fucking in outer space.
Also, they obviously mic the actors like Richard Dyson, so you can hear him
Yeah.
and go off and it's over. So it was real live.
That was
Well,
also
but they do that in the
another
Andromeda
echo of
Strain, too.
2001.
They do. What was that, John?
I said that was another echo of 2001. The way his voice would cut in and out
Yeah.
with hiss behind it.
The Vox thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
again, the Andromeda Strain, they do
Right.
that exact thing when they go into the town
Yeah.
in the
right because they're in
suits.
those
They're-
Yeah.
suits.
The
Yeah.
But the
hazmat
thing-
suits.
Yeah, but
Uh-huh.
yeah, you know, I think I mentioned this before to you guys, but if you see the 4K restoration of 2001,
Which I have.
those effects look like they look better than today's
They
shit.
do.
Correct.
They look better, A, because they're real, but B, because they were just done so well.
Yeah.
Douglas Trumbull's a fucking genius.
And they also
Like-
Kubrick told everybody, if you add a layer of grain to my movie, I will fire you. And so they had to figure out how to do it without putting grain into it. And that's what you got.
It
Well,
just
it's
looks
the-
like
About the only bad part of those seeing that is that it looks awful flat because a lot of it is just photographs, right?
It is.
that you
On
look
a animation
around, like for
stand
the
going, camera
ship's
going up and down.
landing.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, the
Really?
ship landing on the moon always bugged me because the perspective's off because it's a cutout. So it
Yeah.
looks right
No,
at the
dude.
beginning, but by the time it reaches landing point, the perspective's
The
off.
perspective is skewed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say they're looking up and looking.
We
that's
can't
really
turn
weird.
this into a criticizing 2001.
You're right,
thing.
you're right.
That's
we're
gonna be
never
a
gonna-
whole-
2001 is still a fantastic.
Because
movie.
I'm
No,
gonna
no,
start.
that's
I'm gonna start
well-
talking about the. I'm gonna start talking about Gluttony's house in Seven, which they built completely and wrapped in
No.
plastic so the roaches wouldn't get away.
Yeah. No, we're gonna have to
Well,
like.
well,
you know,
well, we have to go back and we have to start a petition of getting a 4K or at least a high def.
all right,
version
we'll
of
get
this
on that.
movie.